It's November 13th, and welcome to episode 108 of Driving Forward Podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Reese Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. And we ended up with everybody in here starting out, so I guess we'll just roll this particular way. I wasn't planning on this one, so I'm going to start it off with this. So I've been laughing the last couple of weeks every time we put up the picture for this episode. So let's put up this picture for this episode. And now you got me smiling, you have Brent smiling, we have Pam smiling, and I don't know what the hell that is, Rob. But
I didn't even notice that. Oh my gosh, dude! Wow, man, I didn't pay attention to that.
That's the LinkedIn picture, man. That's your
wow,
LinkedIn
dude.
Picture.
I need to go change that to the one where I'm smiling.
I've been laughing about this for a couple of weeks, and then somebody sends us a message, and if we can play this video. I
can tell you why I'm looking like that. It's because whoever made that flyer misspelled my name. See, I was smiling until that, and I was like, man, they misspelled my name. Typical. So that's what it is right there. But I am going to go change it. I didn't even notice that.
So every time that comes up, I laugh, and then at the end of last week's episode, we end cap the episode with the thing. I'm laughing after it, and we do a recap of the episode, and I come off the episode laughing. She's laughing. We're both laughing. She goes, "You're laughing because of Rob, aren't you?" I go, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." So, all right. Well, coming up here, actually not coming up, I'll recap a couple things. If you have not joined the Project 61 Step Up Challenge, that's Jeremy Reamer and Dr. Mark Manera. Do so. Project61.org, I believe. Yeah, there you go. Project-61.org. It's not the old app. So go on the website. It's actually the Off-Shift app. So that's the combination of Project 61 and Dr. Mark Maneri. They've merged now into one company. The Off-Shift app you have to pick up through the website, and then you download the app once you do what you need to do. But go on and sign up for that. There's quite a few people participating. Once again, the average life of a driver is 61 years old. Rob and I have driven. I'm not sure, Brent, if you've driven. I think Pam and I have talked about that. But average life of a driver is 61, and this team is working to keep them all healthy. So, Tonight we have the Great Freight Gathering here in Minneapolis, St. Louis Park to be specific, at the Park Tavern. So starting at 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. So there'll be a crew of people there. Every month going forward, we have a crew of people here in Minneapolis setting up a freight movement event. There's a couple of parties that are putting this together. Hillary Drake, Chris Sonic, and a few others. Looks like a good crew tonight that we'll have together. So this one's a little different than your usual freight movement event, but it's very casual and just a great networking event. So if you're around, want to come on out and meet a few folks, 4:30 to 6:30 tonight at Park Tavern. So I guess I missed Cantera's comment here on what he's John. What is he not pissed about? So, Leyland. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll find out.
Bro, a carrier got over on me. That's what it is, Nate. Man, as a broker, I wasn't able to get that carrier down to $1.50. They made me give him $1.55. So that's what it is. That's truly what the problem is.
That's a whole nother discussion. So this weekend, GLCS, we're at Trimble Insight. So Trimble Insight. November 16th to 18th, I actually get in on Saturday. I have a panel with, who do I have a panel? I guess we don't have a discussion on that, but Chris DeMillo with Leonard's Transportation. I can't believe I paused on that one. I'm getting old. So Chris DeMillo on Tuesday. Looking forward to that, as well as chatting with everyone else in New Orleans, one of my favorite cities. Then capping off the year, this, for the most part, Insight this year is capping off the year for us. I don't think we have anything else on our agenda, so I'm really excited that this is the end of conference season for us. I've been traveling all over the place. I'm falling apart. So the other thing we want to talk about is Manifest 2026. It's February 9th through 11th. It's at the Venetian Resort and Casino. We're expecting 7,000 innovative people this year. So that's 2,000 shippers, 1,500 startup and investors, 400 speakers from over 60 countries that will be representing this year. We're putting up a freight movement event on Monday evening, February 9th. We're expecting 500 plus people. We don't have it out yet for sign up, but we've got the venue locked down. It's a speakeasy. It's going to be a blast. We should be posting that up here in the next few weeks. If you'd like to be involved with it from a sponsorship standpoint, please reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you about that. If you'd like to join us at Manifest, we'll post our discount code in the comments as well. So everybody's been hanging out with us this whole time. Why don't we go ahead and just jump to intros? Brent, let's start with you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll comment on Rob as well. Every time someone asks me what's going on in the trucking industry, I give them a similar face, so I can relate. But no, thanks, Nate. Brent Bois. I'm president of Calhoun Truck Lines, located here in the Twin Cities. We operate in the drayage segment of the industry and run across 7 locations, primarily in the Midwest and in the Southeast.
Great. Let's go to Rob. Why don't we go to you next?
Well, my name is Rob Petersen. A lot of people know me as Pedro Potato. Kind of have a dual personality here. By day, I'm a broker, but I've been in the industry 20 years. Spent 10 years in the truck, and the other 10 in the office side, and also run a podcast, the Logistics Lounge. Do that Wednesday and Friday, and we also do trucking media, photography and videography. And so that's me in a nutshell. Here I am to shake things up. I can't wait to get to this list.
And last but not least, Pam.
Hi, Pam Polyak. I am 20 years in this industry. I'm a 3rd generation asset owner. I started a brokerage about 15 years ago when it wasn't nearly as common as it is today. But I also opened up a consulting business that helps the 1 to 10 truck operations do good. The guys who want to exceed the good guys, try and keep them in business. So that's me in a nutshell, doing a little bit of everything in this industry.
Excellent. So I appreciate everybody coming on, chatting about critical issues in trucking, the ATRI list specifically from 2025. This list was interesting. It has 3 new, I think 3 or 4 new entries. One that we saw in 2019, but otherwise 3 entirely new entries. So I'm going to end up sharing a PowerPoint mostly. So yay, PowerPoint. And we're going to start at the lowest number. So number 10 and work our way back up from there. So we're going to kick it off with artificial intelligence in trucking and kind of round robin on how we're going to kick it off. So thoughts on artificial intelligence in trucking around concerns. We'll start with Brent.
Yeah, so a lot of buzz around this one, right? And it seems appropriate that it's on the list and probably placed at number 10. I think that at least from my perspective, looked at a number of different solutions, AI type solutions in different areas, be it scheduling, customer service support, dispatch support, and especially going back to Manifest last January. There's a lot of options out there, and I think as I've dug in to some potential solutions for our organization. Found that there's not a lot of meat behind some of them. And it also seems like there's a bit of a bubble that's about ready to pop here as well. And I'm just kind of curious as to what will happen when that does, and how far it might set our industry back as far as utilizing AI going forward. So again, I think it's appropriate that it's on the list, but haven't found the right solutions, at least for our organization, and still searching if that's a good place to start with this one.
Pam, you're up.
I think there's a lot of good to AI when it's used properly. Like when my TMS system decided to add AI reading of the PDF, rate cons that get sent over for the automatic entry. Cool, great. That's ideal, right? When it's used fraudulently or used purely at no discretion of a human to do certain rates or to give RFPs or to do any part of that, it can definitely hurt the situation even more than it already has in terms of this focus as to whether there should be human interaction, whether there should be connections, whether there should be, you got to know who you're giving loads to. So from like a brokerage standpoint, right? The carrier should know the broker should know the carrier. If you're only using AI and you're only using that book now button and you're only using the algorithms that are pushed out versus what's true, then we clearly have an issue. As John stated, ban AI dispatching.
Right.
It's obviously a lot more than just that, but there can be good. It's just got to be used in the right way. And how do you monitor it? How do you do it? I think as carriers, there could be a lot of benefit, a lot of cost-saving options. At the broker carrier conference, we had discussed that as AI, when used to automate things and automate certain tasks, can make things a lot better. When it's used to replace relationships, that's when we start getting into trouble.
Pedro.
I'm pretty against the AI across the board, man. I mean, not even just trucking, just period. There are instances that I think it is okay. Like Pam said, I feel technology should only be something that aids a human. It should not replace them. It should not do a majority of the job. It should just make you more efficient. As far as like data gathering, things like that, love it. I think it's great. As far as AI, like in trucking, I guess maybe you could put the driverless stuff in this. I would, because that is AI. Again, like I don't want anything in charge of an 80,000 pound death missile, going down the highway. No, thank you. 0 out of 10, do not recommend, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a sense, but I said, in the office stuff, again, I love what Pam said. I think a lot of people miss that. If it's aiding us, totally great. You know what I mean? If I can, in my TMS, punch in the information and, it compile it all and not in my load without me having to fill in everything, dude, I'm all for that. You know what I mean? If it will say, if I book it and it'll just automatically send my RC out, like, cool with that, but yeah, being the one that answers the phones, books loads, takes calls for issues, so forth, so on. I just don't feel that's where we need to be going right now.
So I'm going to answer this in a slightly higher level, which comes down to the fear of losing jobs. And I think that's where it gets put on this list, as people are concerned about losing their jobs. And so this industry's looked at from deregulation on. This industry really hasn't seen the rate increases it should, but it's seen cost reduction in an amazing way. And we've used technology and other things to get there. AI being one of them, AI, machine learning, RPA to reduce costs over the last few years. So now we have this amazing magic wand. To Brent's point, sometimes it works, sometimes it most certainly does not, probably, in a smaller percentage working well than not. And there's a lot of reasons on why that is, which we don't necessarily have to get into. But let's say it does work and that 20% of your staff is no longer needed in your organization. But I think what the call out is it's not that they're not needed, it's that they need to be reallocated. So that and that's what I think that we need to realize, is that there is a place for them, but it's in the relationship. So this job may have freed up people from doing menial work so that they can do meaningful work.
But then you have the issue of the younger generation who doesn't understand how to create a relationship.
Well, that's a different issue.
That's a whole different topic, but you see what now you got to train the people who went from relationship building in this industry 15 to 20 years ago, where that was the core thing to do, was to create the relationship, to get the load, to get the freight, to get whatever. Now you have this technology-based thing that says we're going to rely on AI, we're going to do all that, have this done all for us, yada, yada, yada. Now we have to retrain that mind and that theory.
Right.
And teach people how to talk to each other and write thank you cards again and all that other stuff that we miss.
So I think, though, there's a valid point and concern amongst, and this is a largely voted on by drivers, actually. So this was mostly drivers that called this out, but then there was a substantial number from office and support people in the industry, or from motor carriers and then support personnel in the industry as well, that called this out. So it is, but I hear everyone loud and clear. Nobody, I think, wants to see that. I've yet to hear anyone that wants to be dispatched by AI. So whether it's a broker dispatching or no one really wants to interact. And those use cases are all difficult. So let's move on to the next one. I think we're all kind of in, for the most part, aligned there. We'll go. Next one on the list is driver training standards. Now, this is both of these are new. Driver training standards were added in. We saw that in 2019. We'll start this one off with Pam. That actually worked out perfectly. So, Pam, what's your thoughts on driver training standards?
There isn't good enough standards out there. Obviously, we're seeing a lot right now with the CDLs being your John Doe, and you could watch a little 17-minute YouTube video and get your test. I think there is a lot of issues in regards to driver training, particularly more in the realm of fraud. But I'd venture to say it's not just driver training that we would need, it's also management training. For me, there should be no reason why people and owners who hold a DOT or an MC number don't have to take a test. Why don't I have to take a test to show that I know the laws the same way as a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher was? You need that continuing education. I should be able to be trained on how to do it and then prove that I know how to do it. So again, we're talking driver, so I don't want to derail it too much, but sure. I think it's all in the one thing of like, we need to be able to prove that we understand the laws on the road, and minus your one test for this to get your CDL, there's not that continuing education. You've got your med card, you've got that kind of stuff, but you understand that the laws have changed, even for the drivers who've been on the road for 20 years. Do you realize that there's different laws now, and that kind of stuff, and really understanding what's going on? There should be no reason why our industry doesn't have those continuing education factors and checkpoints that we need to make sure that we're all being safe.
Rob, you're up next.
Honestly, brother, one of the biggest things I see right now with the training is, unfortunately, it's become just like it is for our kids in school, right? They teach these drivers to pass the test. That's it. They're not teaching them anything in that schooling besides how to get their CDL, and the standards have just plummeted. I believe when I got my CDL, it was, but depending on the school you went to and whether you went through a company, it was like 3 to 5 weeks just of the school to get your CDL, and then after that, it was, I don't know, some companies for your in the truck training, it was 8 weeks, 12 weeks, just depending on whatever it was. And a lot of that has gone by the wayside. And, they're now letting driver trainers train people when they themselves have less than a year, like negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full on that one. I would say easy 2 years OTR before you start trying to train someone. You need to go through all 4 seasons, I say at least twice, and be all across the country. And I think that's the biggest fallback. And I do actually love, again, Pam, I keep saying, I'm just might as well copy Pam. When you ask me, I'm like what Pam said. But the continuing education, most of my career, actually all of my career, I was a company driver. I worked for very large companies. And I'll tell you one thing that they had beat over the 2 small companies I worked for was continuing training. We dealt with like hazmat stuff. And even if you didn't have a hazmat license, you still may get a small hazmat load. Anytime laws were updated, continuous safety training, all of these things happened all the time. There was always something for you to do and take a test and pass, or they wouldn't book you on a load. And although the drivers hated it, like Pam said, the laws change all of the time. You know what I mean? Last year, did we think we were going to be dealing with the stuff we're dealing with now about them making the ELP and enforcing that, even though it's been on the books? You know what I mean? So people need to be aware of this stuff. So the initial definitely needs to standards needs to be heightened again.
Great point, Brent.
Yeah, I think there are tremendous downstream impacts from enhanced driver's training standards, certainly in regards to safety, and in other areas that ultimately, can reduce the costs of operations for carriers. And I think if you're able to successfully engage industry stakeholders to help develop those standards, I think that's key as well. And if you look across other industries, there are continuous education requirements that are pretty standard place. And, why shouldn't we bring those, back inside the trucking industry as related to this area? So, and also to Pam's point, she makes a very good one, not just for drivers, all the way up through the highest levels in the organization. I think that there should be some standards as well. I know that if there were, I and others in my organization could certainly benefit from them, and that would be very helpful. So I'm all for it.
I'm not going to add much to this. I think everybody's going to check every box there, and I'm in 100% agreement with everyone here. I think that's great, and there's just not much more to add. I mean, I guess I am going to add one thing. So I'm not going to be that person who says I'm not going to add anything, but so the driving schools out there that are just checking the box, to Rob's point. And John, I have a feeling Pam just can't wait to talk about the driver shortage. So don't worry about that. Even though it's not on the list, the schools that are just checking boxes, I think, we talked about one school not that long ago, or I talked about one in another show that was putting drivers out in 4 days. I mean, that's just impossible. Having gone through a school myself ages ago, I lived there for a month to get my Class A, and that was morning till night driving, and then I was with a trainer for 2 or 3 weeks following that. So that was in the 90s. So that's a lot of training even back then, but ultimately I'm on the same page with all of you. So next point, and we'll go to Rob with it, is diesel emissions regulations.
Man, first off, let's get this one out of the way. DEF needs to be gone. Like, totally, that system erased from trucks. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. I swear that is a conspiracy by like multiple industries, including mechanics, to like rake carriers over the coal, because that's all it does, right? Is cost carriers money. It does nothing to the environment that I've seen. I mean, they can show whatever evidence they want, but anyway, so diesel regulations. I am for them. I will say, I mean, let's be honest, the planet's in a horrible place, and it's all because of humans. And so, I mean, hey, if we can do something to try to counteract that or whatever, I'm all for it. Technology's advanced. Hey, sure, let's make better engines, more fuel efficiency, maybe make hybrid type stuff, but do it to where it's not going to be another DEF situation. That DEF system has done nothing again, but I mean, it's an expense, right? You got to pay to put the DEF in it, and then it always breaks something, and it's always the same things. You got to pay to keep it up, pay to fix it, and then all these other stuff. So I'm for them as long as they're responsible and we're not putting unproven technology out there on the road that's just going to do nothing but cost drivers and carriers money.
Brent?
Yeah, there has to be a practical approach to this one, for sure. We've seen it fail too many times. I'm not sure exactly what that practical approach is, but our costs of running equipment have gone up significantly as a result of it. And this industry can't afford to increase those costs at the same rate going forward, considering what we're dealing with today. So I don't know that I have a heck of a lot more to say about that, but again, there has to be a practical approach for this one going forward. It's good that it's on the list. And I think that, also what we've seen in some situations in some markets is, some relatively large companies go to business, trying to making sure that they're being in compliance and competing maybe with some other folks who are not, and that's not right either. So it needs to be standardized across the board for all carriers, and there needs to be a practical approach to this one.
And Pam?
Obviously, I agree with everybody, but I will take a little bit of a stronger stance just to say this shouldn't even be on the list right now. We have so many other fish to fry within this industry that
I'm going to put it back on the list, though. I'm going to argue with you, but I'll wait till my turn.
We can argue it. I just don't know that it's a solution that's going to generate any type of profit-driven ideas to make this industry better as a whole, right? I get the concept of making the environment better and also cute. Let's wrap it in a cute little bow. But at the end of the day, you guys want your packages faster. You want them quicker. You want them at your doorstep the minute I haul them. And then you want to tell me how to do it at the same time in terms of don't forget to make it look pretty and don't pollute and don't do this. The bottom line is it's diesel trucks. Yes, we can make all these efficiencies. The DEF system, it's proven to not work. It's proven to be a crapshoot. It's proven to not do anything. Why are we focusing on that when we have 100 other things within this industry that need improvement tomorrow in order for the good guys to stay in business? And it's just not one of them. I'm not saying it shouldn't be on the list anywhere, but the top 10, it's just kind of blowing to me that it's on there.
So the reason why I'm going to keep it on here, why I think it should be on here is in 2010, 2011, when DEF was 2011, when DEF came out, or 2010, somewhere in there. If you think about what that did to our fuel economy at that time, it plummeted, right? We lost 1 mile to 2 miles per gallon, somewhere in that range. So in 2027, there's currently new emission standards that are in force that the OEMs have to adhere to, that are probably going to increase the cost of your trucks 20 to 30%. So you tack on the fact that the tariffs now currently have increased the cost of your trucks 20+%. And then you tack onto the fact that the new technology on the trucks are probably going to flip. We don't know what the fuel mileage of the trucks are going to happen, but we're concerned. I think anyone out there is concerned about that. And I think what ATA is stating here is push it back, leave it be. No one wants DEF, right? Everyone, nobody wants DEF, but what we don't want is to lose two miles per gallon, and we don't want 30% or 20% more expensive trucks right now, coming out of COVID, dealing with tariffs, dealing with whatnot. We as an industry cannot handle another significant increase on one of our most expensive line items on our P&L. So that's
Nate,
why it's on the list.
Could I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I think this is another brutal honesty right here. How many shippers really care how sustainable you are? Very few, unless they're the big ones who are getting some type of tax credit. I mean, I've heard so many shippers say, like, I don't care how much miles per gallon you get in your truck. Are you going to deliver my load at 8 a.m. tomorrow? I don't care if it comes in on 2 rims and a wind up machine, like, as long as it's going to get there. So I think that's another thing, kind of what I think what Brent was sort of alluding to at the end there is you dump all this money into something, you really see no return on it. And there's like people that, a lot of shippers, customers, it's not really a line item for them, whether they're going to do business with you or not.
I mean, certainly you have some organizations that are, you get a big contract and they want you to have some green line item on them or whatever the case might be. But yeah, so to the point, this has a lot to do with that 2027 emission standards, not necessarily where we are today and the concern that that's going to have on purchasing equipment there. So, but otherwise I agree with you, Pam. It doesn't have to go away from, so if they move the line, keep it where it's at, we don't have a problem today. I don't think we can leave it where it is today is what I think ATA is saying. Just leave it be. Don't mess with what's working at the moment. So, okay, next one up is Brent, and we are talking English language proficiency for drivers. So that's one near and dear to my heart, but go ahead, Brent, take her away.
Sure. A lot to be discussed here, I'm sure. Look, obviously, we need to make sure that in order to be safe, drivers know how to do the basic functions, read signs, operate safely on our highways and interstate system. One of my concerns here is, and we can argue again about driver shortage or not, but we might all be able to agree on there's a shortage of good, high quality drivers. And I wouldn't want this to get in the way of that. And I know a lot of drivers where English might be their second language and may not speak it as well, and as related to what law enforcement would deem acceptable or not. I think there's a gray area there, but I don't want something like this to reduce the quality drivers in the industry. And I also think there's another technology component maybe to this as well as we move forward. Maybe it doesn't apply today, but it certainly does tomorrow, and that there's devices, there's tools, there's technology like AirPods that will translate for folks, for drivers, potentially, that could assist with, again, keeping high quality drivers on the road and maybe breaking down some of the language barrier and communicating with law enforcement, customers, etc. So that's just kind of where my head is at on this right now. Then I'll pause and let others speak.
Pam.
Oh, yay. I'm next. Definitely agree. So I'm going to take a little lighter approach than you probably would have expected when it comes to the driver English proficiency part. So I had a driver years ago who, he was an older guy. His son owned the truck. They were here legally, all that stuff. Didn't really speak English at all. We did the workaround. His son would call, interpret, that kind of stuff. And this was 10 plus years ago. There are definite reasons and ways to get around somebody not speaking English. The problem is that it's part of a bigger problem. The reason why I'm shocked about this entire report, not just having fraud as that entire baseline, is that the non-English speaking is a piece to that, is a piece to how this has gotten out of control. And that's the bigger issue. I think if you come and want to apply here and you don't speak the best English or barely any English, I don't care. I don't care. Now the law cares, right? But they didn't. I personally don't care. I will speak to you through an app. I will speak to you through a translator. It doesn't bother me. But it's part of a bigger piece that needs to be discussed on a much higher level than just English proficiency. You can do a job and be a really good truck driver and be great and be here legally and all of those things that says I'm qualified to drive this truck and I just don't speak English. You know, there is space for that to happen. And the problem is that it's overflooded with the fraud and it's all in it into one bucket in my mind. And so when you can't tackle one without the other. And so them eliminating, meaning the government, them eliminating the English proficiency and allowing it on roadsides and all those other things, it's a good thing to have happen. because you're dealing with, you're starting to poke at the bigger issue of fraud. So I'm taking a lesser approach on just that specific topic. But again, I think it's part of a much bigger, broader range of topics, as fraud being the entire bucket.
All valid points. Rob, what's your thoughts?
I'm pretty much, I mean, I'm along with everyone on this for the most part. I mean, everyone's kind of saying the same thing. Has to do, you want people to be able to understand, things when they're doing business in this country. It makes sense. If you go somewhere else, they're going to expect you to do the same thing, whether you're a bread baker or you're a truck driver over there. One thing that I like to try to elaborate, or that I like to try to bring more light, is everyone always keeps saying, read the road signs, talk to cops, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's all good and dandy. To touch on what Brent said and Pam, there's plenty of freaking apps out there that can translate talk. But being able to understand and read, not just signs, man, but BOLs and rate cons. Like, a lot of people don't hit on this. And I feel that, to me, that's the real importance of this thing. If you can't properly read a rate con, you just accidentally booked a load for a hazmat load or whatever it is. You don't have those proper credentials. Like, a whole lot of things could happen. What if it's a driver count? You know what I mean? And you don't understand that you need to do that. So to me, I think it's a little bit more of an extensive issue than just being on the road. But I also really agree with Brent. Not enough people say that too. Unfortunately, there are some good freaking folks that are going to get caught up in this. I live in Texas. I have several lanes that are intra-Texas that are reefer loads, and most of them go from DFW down to the valley and back. And most of the drivers that do it, man, they're Hispanic drivers. So let me tell you what, they've never been late. They've never caused a problem. They're there. Like, anything I need, they're there. And I know they don't speak good enough English, so we text. That's them. Like, hey, just text me. I can read and understand this, but I can't understand you on the phone. And so that's a thing. There's a really gray area there that some good folks are going to get caught up in this. And with that, I say that, to you companies, taking that initiative now. If you know you have a lot of ESL or English second language drivers, doesn't matter if they speak Swahili or Spanish, man, hire some teachers, get them to the point to where they can keep their CDL or whatever it is, and that not be an issue for you or your drivers. So that's it.
And I'll keep this one short. I think, there's a recent study put out that said if you are shut down due to ELP, there's a likelihood of you being 500% more likely of having issues with safety or mechanical violations. So originally when the ELP things started up, I thought it was more political in nature. Started pulling on this rope. The University of Tennessee just released something on this too. When you start going down the path of these trucks that are being shut down that do have these violations, the trucks are very skeptical. But that being said, there's a lot of really great operators in this space too. So it's how do we operate accordingly? And we are not far off. I mean, if you go to Europe, everyone works fine. There's a lot of languages spoken in Europe. Everyone seems to operate just fine there. That being said, it's a different infrastructure. Not as many trucks moving quite in the same way. Well, actually, quite a few trucks moving, but if you go there. But a lot of language is spoken, and everyone's able to figure that out. So to John Cantera's point, English is a language spoken for maritime and aviation. So that being said, we have to work through this, right? We have to work through it, but it is an identifier right now in many ways, shapes, and forms for fraud too as well. And that's something that I think the University of Tennessee and a few others are starting to pull on. They're identifying a number of cases in that. So we'll see where this one goes. I'm curious if it'll stay on the list next year or if this will be our item that actually flips to fraud. So we're going to take a break. We're on number 7. I don't know if we're going to get through it all. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the time-critical world of trucking and logistics, every minute counts. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT and technology services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep trucking and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them with our industry connections and proactive approach. We keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise.
Every generation, every sacrifice. Our nation's service members have stood up for our freedom, our families, and our future. Now it's our turn to stand up for them. This year, you can honor their service in a deeply personal way by sponsoring a $17 Veterans Wreath. Each wreath is more than a symbol. It's a heartfelt tribute to the heroes who served and to the families who carry their legacy. Visit wreathsacrossamerica.org to sponsor a wreath today. This isn't just a wreath. It's a personal gift to an American hero.
And we are back. All right. The number 6 issue, and we're going to move a little faster here now. Number 6, CSA. Do we all just agree that CSA sucks? I'm going to leave
math
this
isn't
up.
mathing on some of that sometimes, but
Yeah. Anybody have any? I'm not going to do the round robin here because I'll try to catch up. Anybody have any strong feelings on CSA?
No.
nope.
All right, we're skipping CSA. Hopefully they started talking about it a couple of years ago on replacing it. We were hoping it'd be replaced by now. So number 5, driver compensation. I'll run this one round robin because I feel like it's a important one. I think we're at a Pam start. So I think so. Pam, why don't you kick it off?
Driver compensation, the bottom line is number 5 feeds right into number 1 for me. So I would love to pay my drivers more at the end of 21 when we had a fantastic 20 and 21 because we are primarily a food producer. We had a huge 20 and 21 financially. I was able to give them a huge bump in their pay from an hourly standpoint. Since then, obviously have needed to make some adjustments and unfavorable adjustments at that. Drivers deserve to be paid a lot more than what they are. That is the bottom line. I don't know anybody who disagrees. It's just a matter of whether the actual companies can afford it, whether the freight prices, make it make sense for that to happen, especially when there's all these other expenses we have. So the driver compensation part, 100%. If we could get them paid more, great. It is a big issue, but it's compiled with everything else surrounding it, from the economy to freight prices, everything with it. It's part of that bigger piece of the puzzle that we just can't fix the driver compensation part without fixing that. But noting that detention is no longer on this list. And I think that's been helping, and sort of the technology that's been put in place to help some of those detention issues have allowed that compensation for downtime to filter out of that top 10 a little bit, to kind of make up for that the driver compensation as a whole. So
Rob, driver comp.
Man, I just ditto what Pam said. I'm not up to what drivers are making now besides really owner ops. That's mainly what I did with this broker. When I quit driving, I think I was somewhere mid 50 cents a mile, high 50, something like that. And that was 2018. So, and yes, should keep pace. Just like everyone's wages honestly should keep pace, but, very much so the drivers, but Pam hit right on it. And, there's another one on this list. I won't say what, but there's another one on this list that I think is really the overlaying factor with the issue with wages. But I'll wait till we get to that one.
Brent, anything on wages?
I would agree. Drivers need to be paid more. This is a tricky one and a tough one because there's different models of pay, right? That all work and are all effective. There's different segments of the industry, and there's a lot of data that needs to be again compiled. And the more that ATRI can do to bring more of this to the surface to help us in this area and help drivers get paid more, the better off we are going forward. I don't know what else I can add.
Yeah, I think we're a cyclical industry, and we're going to pay drivers what we can. I've been saying it for my entire career. Drivers haven't been paid enough for what they're asked to do. It's not about hours per day. It's not about any. It's about total comp, and they do a very difficult job, and it's a wide range of jobs. So some are home every day, some work 8 hours a day, some work a lot more than that, and some don't come home for weeks. There's many different styles of drivers, but the compensation is all in the eye of the beholder. If you enjoy your job, if you enjoy what you're doing, the best way to make a good living is to stay with the company that you're at. If they're a good company, over time it'll work out best for you. But compensation is a hard one. So, and it always will show up when the economy's tight. So, all right, next one. This one could probably be one that we can jump past because I think truck parking. So it's been on the list for a while. Last year it was number 2. This year it slid to number 4. Any thoughts on truck parking?
I think we're heading in a good direction with it, to be honest with you. I do. Regardless of what people say about the paid truck parking and all that stuff. I mean, it sucks that has to be a large part of the solution right now, but it just is. There have been some states that are really doing some stuff to help this out. Personally, I feel that there should be some type of way for private entities to get access to these funds. You know what I mean? Someone that does own property, instead of having to go to someone else, can take some of this, build it up themselves, provide receipts, proof that that's what they did with it, and maybe go the route. I think, but I feel we are headed in a good direction with it. We'll never catch up. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? It's just like riding the city bus at rush hour or the subway at rush hour. You know what I mean? No matter how many, or highways, that's my best example. No matter how wide you make the highway, it's still going to be traffic. It's 7 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I feel that's going to be the same way with truck parking. As the country grows, people grows, more trucks on the road, you're never going to have enough spot. And let's be honest, that doesn't make logical sense either. So, but I think we're heading a good way with it.
Anybody else?
I would just add real quickly, like leaving this one up to local and regional governments to solve might not be the best solution and might not provide the best resources in the areas of the greatest need. So I get a little concerned about that. But trying to get the federal funding for this would be problematic too. So I like what Rob had to say. If we can get some more private entities involved in this and finding the right solutions there, that would be great.
I think too, along those points, I have literally right directly the lot next to me. There's 6.5 acres sitting here. I want to turn that into a parking lot. I want to put electrical stalls there. I want to do whatever. The town won't let me. They want a building. They want the tax. They want all this stuff. They simply won't let me.
Go ahead.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like, that's where I'm stuck. I would love to do it. I could easily get 100 trucks in there and trailers in there, and I can have plugins, and it could be great. But town won't let me. It's not a good enough tax reason for them to do that. So
therein is the underlying issue. So you move it to private, and you're still fighting the government entity. And this is not a new battle by any means. This has been going on for a while, especially for truck parking, for truck stops, for everything. No one wants it in their backyard, and so this is why it's on the list, right? There's plenty of places to park trucks, and you've heard the study of there's not a truck parking problem. There's plenty of places to put trucks, just nobody will let you put them there. That's primarily the issue. And then taking it to a private standpoint, now you have to monetize that. So there needs to be a way for that private entity to be able to pay for whatever, whether that's through parking or for some other transaction that has to be done. But it also has to be in some area where they will allow it to happen in their backyard, which is always the problem. So, and hence why it's still on the list. But all right, next one, big one. Insurance costs and availability. We'll have to go around the circle on this one. All right, Rob, we'll kick it off with you.
Man, I don't know. I really can't say much on this. I see insurance policies. Got some friends that are in the insurance world. My wife is in it, and so, like everything else, I agree. It's too high, and it's unfortunate that it's the fault of the dingbats out there on the road that it just takes a few to mess it up for the many. And that's the way everyone's insurance works: car insurance, boat insurance, plane insurance. You know what I mean? It's it all sucks, but let's also be honest. Where's the proof that these costs totally need to rise? Like, we're just going on what the insurance company tells you. Tell us whatever you want to tell us that makes sense for you. So I honestly don't know if there's a solution to this. There's not, unless you can get enough people together to put a co-op together, So, but yeah, so I don't know. It does need to go down, but I really can't speak much more on it.
Brent.
Yeah. So, items 2 and 3 kind of go hand in hand here, right? It really sucks.
Because I think they do as well.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree. So let me pull up 2 and 3 actually, because I think I agree. So if we want to talk to both of them, because I think they do, one sort of causes the other to some extent, but so number 2 being lawsuit abuse reform. I would have kept them apart, but we've got about 10 minutes left. So
yeah, so definitely go hand in hand here. And as a carrier, you can perform really well throughout the course of the year, and when it comes time to renewal, there's a good chance you're getting stuck with a unreasonable increase due to items beyond your control. One of them being runaway verdicts and the lawsuit abuse reform issue that's listed as item number 2. I don't have any solutions for this. I think that we've seen some progress that's been made in regards to lawsuit abuse in certain states. Certainly Iowa has passed some legislation, as has, I believe, Georgia, limiting or capping damages to some extent. But I don't. This one continues to get worse every year, and I don't know that there's a good solution out there. And quite frankly, in a lot of cases, the only people that are winning right now are the attorneys, and that's the problem.
Right. And that's actually the primary issue, is the attorneys. So, when we get into these lawsuits that turn these nuclear verdicts and whatnot, the lawsuits are becoming astronomically large. That's ultimate. That's what everyone's worried about is the nuclear verdicts, is the exposure on these sides. So that's what's running the cost of this up. So, Pam.
There's a lawyer here in the Wisconsin market, and he sponsors all of the big, your Milwaukee Brewers, your Milwaukee Bucks, your Green Bay Packers, all this other stuff. And he sponsors it, and his slogan is "One call, that's all." We have other words that we insert into that "one call, us all." Because he literally puts out commercials promoting accidents with truck drivers. You've been in a trucking accident, one call, right. Call us all. And he just keeps going, and it's redundant, and it's been for years. And the bottom line is, I think I'm not sure it's certainly not a solution, but I think there is and has been a big change with cameras being involved and the ability to catch that fraud, that illegal accident that was never really an accident, that guy who did a hard break and all of a sudden it's the trucker's fault. I think there's a lot to be said about that. But I also think there is a lot to be said about why insurance companies aren't offering discounts for people who do have cameras. If I'm saving that litigation and I'm saving that issue because I have all of the evidence that says otherwise, I should be getting a discount. And I strongly believe that. And I think that that's a huge part of the solutions, that if insurance stood up and said, I will give you this giant discount if those cameras are running 99% of the time in your fleet, or whatever that number is, prove that you're trying to change that story and that narrative that the truck driver is always bad, that they're the ones that are causing the big wrecks, that it's their fault. If you're part of the solution to change that with the videos on your cameras that can prove it, then you should be getting a discount for it, not an increase of, we received an increase of 6.5% last year. And that was the best. I went out for bid. That was the best I could do. And it's like, that's thousands and thousands of dollars that I don't have right now, right? I can't afford it. So it just ripple effects into that. But if I've got cameras and I'm paying for cameras, that's where the money should go, not in the insurance company's pocket.
So I feel I'm going to tap on this and then we'll go to the number one issue. But so tort reform, obviously, but there was a session that we were in at ATRI where a representative from JB Hunt was in, and they said there is ultimately no way to wrangle this issue in without government intervention. And this has actually happened in other industries before, where they have come in and capped the lawsuits and have wrangled in the attorneys. So, and that has slowed down and then ultimately resolved the insurance industries, and then also have capped and controlled the insurance side. So this has happened, and I don't recall the specific industry and the specific case because it's been a while since they had actually done this. There was a couple cases in the 80s and 90s that this had happened through the same sort of scenario, but it is approaching that level with transportation logistics. And on average, as a blanket throughout our entire industry, we're at a 36% increase over the last 8 years. But I feel like in the last 2 years, most people have seen substantial increases, and that the next couple of years we're going to see even more. And part of that's due to the way we're seeing kind of spikes in inflation. So your trucks cost more. I mean, just simply the damage to equipment is X, and now it's X plus 30%. So just that raises it in general. But it's not looking great. So at some point there'll have to be some sort of intervention. I'm not one to say let's go get government intervention, but this one's at a level of out of control that it hasn't gotten better. It's been on the list forever. So Jessica has one other comment here. She being in insurance. Dash cams too, by the way. That is, so being in technology, dash cams, strongest return on investment for any carrier out there across the board. There's a couple
driver facing. Make sure you say that. Driver facing.
Oh, I'll argue with you on that one.
I love that argument, but I'll let Nate go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think driver facing I think it's very important.
I think
so.
Can we debate it for a second? Okay, so this is what I was told when we were discussing the inward versus the outward facing, right? The inward facing, at what point would a driver have to do something that would benefit the carrier in a lawsuit?
Okay, so what if the driver has a stroke? What if the driver has a stroke going down the road, right? And the driver just hits a tree and they just call it his fault, right? They just say it's his fault. It's an at-fault accident. I don't know if a medical thing changes it, but maybe it does. What if they hit a family, right? What if they hit someone, but it was a medical thing? I mean, to me, it's not about invasion of privacy. It is about getting, literally, like the camera says, a 360-degree picture of what was going on while that truck was going down the road. To me, that's just it. I mean, no driver hates it. I was a driver with it. I never had a problem with it. And this is what I say to that. If you ain't doing nothing wrong, what you worried about? Simple as that.
Correct.
I mean, that's what I say.
From a driver standpoint, I get it. I get the part of it that matters. But if you're sitting there on if you're sitting there on the stand, right, and as the owner of the company who owns this company, has it's inward facing cameras, and they decide, the defense, whatever, decides to turn around and say, you killed somebody, you blinked too long. I saw you look down at your shoes. That was too long of a look, because they're doing the video in slow motion and they're taking the jury, and all of a sudden it's the driver's fault, right? In no point does that, unless there's something catastrophic that you really couldn't explain and whatever, and you wanted to show, if there was something medical going on, a doctor can be on the stand and explain that, yes, they had a stroke, they had a heart attack, it caused this, it caused that. Beyond that, you're looking for a blink that takes too long. You're looking for that one moment where he spent a little too long looking to his left-hand side because there was a billboard that he liked. You're looking at something, right? They're going to claim those behaviors. And then the other thing that I was told, and a big thing, sorry, I know we're almost running out of time, but if you don't have, as a carrier, if you don't have the ability to monitor every single tracking, if you've got a fleet that's operating at 11 p.m. at night and you don't have a safety person watching that monitor, that thing goes off at 11 p.m. that he's falling asleep, and you don't get that driver pulled over and off to the side of the road, he crashes and kills somebody at 11:15. Now you're really screwed, because you knew it. You knew it. You got the notification. You knew he was falling asleep and you didn't stop him. So especially for the small carriers who can't afford that 24/7 monitoring of that inward facing camera, it's detrimental to it. It really doesn't help the cause one bit. Okay, bent over, sorry.
Fair enough.
You know you love me.
Outward facing cameras are not really debatable. Inward facing cameras, there's certainly a big debate there.
We could have another podcast on that one. Sorry.
Honestly, I got a couple that I think I need to do off of this one. So, number one, I'm ready to have that driver shortage conversation. We did not get to it. So, finally, the last one on the list here, which I don't think we need to spend too much time on, is the economy. It's, I think, the third or fourth time on the list. We didn't get through any of the other slides because we talked a lot. But our economy has not been the best. It depends on who you talk to, which is interesting. You sit down, you talk to someone, and they're going to tell you the economy is great, but the freight market has not been. So the economy is a top issue, and that ultimately goes right there with driver compensation, right? So, anyone have any final thoughts on the economy?
It stinks. That's pretty much it.
Nothing positive.
Yeah,
No.
nothing good.
Nothing positive. And I think it's not, any which way you look at it, it's going to be a long slog over the next year. Pam, we got to chat at length at it just right after I got out of ATA, but it's looking like we're at a slog over the next year or so coming out of that. But so, in closing, I'll kind of do one roundabout. I know we're over time. I appreciate you guys coming on, but Brent, do you have any closing thoughts here today?
No, appreciate the conversation and everyone's perspective. It'll be interesting to see how the economy plays out here. I agree, it's going to be a long slog. Hopefully, we can come out of this in a better spot with some best practices, and hopefully that's sooner than later. I'll leave it at that.
All right, appreciate it. Pam, how about yourself? Any final thoughts?
Just stay diligent, stay knowing your numbers, whether you're in brokerage, whether you're in your logistics, whether you have assets, whatever it is. I mean, we're all in survival mode within this industry. I think the current administration is really doing well at least trying to tackle some of these issues, and hopefully things don't get caught up in court too much. But we really need the help of the government to step up and get better technology in place. Fraud protection, that type of stuff. I really am shocked it's not on there. If you guys aren't aware of fraud protection, you need to be, and you need to see it, be aware of what's going on, because it's going to cost you money in the long run if you're not. Whether it's an unpaid load, a driver's part of it, some way, shape, or form, you're a part of it if you aren't aware of it. So we need to stay on top of it.
ATRI was even aware. I mean, they even talked about it when they announced these. So, but it didn't make it. I think it was on the list. It just wasn't that high on the list. So, but I think if you think about who probably votes on this at the moment and when it was voted for, I'm going to guess next year it's going to be on the list. So just how it comes about. But yeah, I agree. Fraud is a thing. So Rob.
Well, first off, I mean, I just want to say thanks for letting me join Nate, and it was great meeting you, Brent, Pam, talking to you, hearing everyone's perspective. You know, it's good to see that a lot of us really have the same view on things. You know, the same things are important. We all feel that the solution to that is on pretty much the same track or within the same ballpark. And yeah, I mean, me personally, I think if one thing needs to be the first thing that improves, it is definitely what was number one on the list, the economy. I mean, let's get that right there right now. You know, I mean, when the economy starts to get better and people start to spend more money, more freight hits the roads, people start making more money, and we can start hiring folks back, and it'll address a lot of these other issues too. You know what I mean? The more money you have, those expenses aren't so much of a hurt. That little higher insurance cost, that little higher fuel bill. You know, so yeah. That's my take on it.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody coming on. So I think Pam, we're gonna have to have a driver shortage conversation soon, and I'll text you.
Get online, got it.
I got a cancellation for next week, so you know we might have to chat. So we'll see where we end up there, but I'll text you. So. I appreciate you all coming on. If I don't talk to you beforehand, I'll probably talk to Rob beforehand for sure somehow. But Brent, appreciate you coming on. Have a great Thanksgiving. If anyone travels, travel safe, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Appreciate everybody coming on. I did want to mention, so next week we're reconnoitering, but following that we'll do a Thanksgiving replay, and then the week after that, I believe what do we have? Jeremy Reamer and Dr. Mark Manera on, and then we have a live podcast. Charlie Dehoney and I are going to get together from Upwell. And I'm going to go down to their office. We're going to sit together and chat it up for however long it takes. So that'll be a good one. Charlie and I have not done a podcast yet together as much time as we spend together. So that'll be a great one. So we've had a few other folks on from Upwell, but not Charlie and I. So appreciate everyone listening in. But when you boil down ATRI's top 10, it's really one big truth. Trucking is carrying everybody's problems and still getting the freight there on time. We've got an economy that still feels like a roller coaster, nuclear verdicts and lawsuit abuse breathing down everyone's neck, insurance costs that make you feel like you're buying a second truck just to cover your first one's cost. So drivers are still hunting for safe parking like it's a scavenger hunt at 2 a.m., while regulators toss in new emissions rules, language standards, and training requirements like we've all got spare hours just laying around. And right as we're juggling all of that, here comes AI. It's part game changer, but part question mark. And here's what I love about this industry. We don't scare that easy. We don't have the luxury of living in theory. We live in, does this load move or doesn't this load move? ATRI's research doesn't exist to gather dust on a shelf. It's a roadmap. It tells you where the friction is, where the money's bleeding out, and where the opportunities are hiding in plain sight. So here's my ask to you. Don't just nod along to this episode and go back to business as usual. Pick one issue from the list, just one issue from the list, and decide what your next move is. If you're a carrier, that could be tightening up safety and documentation so that you're not just sitting in a courtroom. If you're a broker, maybe it's getting serious about appointment tech and driver-friendly facilities. If you're a driver, maybe it's speaking up. And when you speak up professionally and loudly, but make sure it's professionally. And speak up about parking and training and compensation. And if you're in tech, build tools that solve all of these problems, not just the problems that look good on a VC pitch deck. So support the work that ATRI is doing. Fill out the surveys when they come around. Share the data with your team. Use it in your board meetings, your safety meetings, your driver councils, because the people who are paying attention to this research are the ones still standing when the dust settles. That's it for today. It was a long one, 10 minutes over. That usually doesn't happen. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us which of the top 10 keeps you up at night and what you're doing about it. So stay curious, stay informed, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, drive forward with purpose and innovation. Thanks for watching.